Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a recent headline that former 2020 Democratic candidate and very popular on social media and YouTube, Andrew Yang, is actually the frontrunner in the New York City mayor's race. So this report comes out from a few days ago that a new poll has shown that Andrew Yang is the early frontrunner in both the Democratic polls and in head-to-head polls. Now, the fact that Andrew Yang, who did run for president in 2020, decided to run for mayor in New York, I'll be honest, it surprised me. I actually did not know Andrew Yang was from New York. I really had no idea. So when I heard Andrew Yang was going to run, I personally, from an unbiased perspective of someone who is interested in elections and covering elections, I thought this was really great. I think that regardless of your political views, Andrew Yang is someone who brings media attention, and the media and especially younger people and younger voters love to talk about Andrew Yang. So I think Andrew Yang is a very interesting candidate for New York City mayor, and the polls have suggested that so far, where Andrew Yang is leading very early on, but he is leading substantially in the Democratic primary and the head-to-head polls. Now, of course, it's New York City, so of course a Democrat will be leading in the election and head-to-head polls. But it's also the Democratic primary. The Democrats will be trying to replace New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who is term limited and can't run again. A lot of people, including many Democrats, have been upset with the recent months on how Mayor Bill de Blasio has handled certain things in New York City. So the Democrats are looking for the next person to lead the Democratic Party in New York City, in New York. And it's interesting to me that Andrew Yang, who is, in my opinion, as I have said a few times, I don't know if I've ever said it on the channel before, but to me, Andrew Yang is the Democrats' version of Trump, where he's an outsider businessman who made a lot of noise and when they ran for president. And of course, I'm not saying Trump and Yang are the same in many aspects; they're not. But I just think that the Democrats' version of Trump is Yang to a degree. And I find it very, very interesting that President Trump, who's made his home in New York, he had successful businesses in New York, he started his campaign in New York, and now Andrew Yang, who I view in some way to be the Democrats' own version of Trump, is running for New York City mayor. And Andrew Yang brings a lot of interesting policies that a lot of Democrats haven't really thought about doing. Universal basic income, UBI, is a very, very big proponent of Andrew Yang that he wants to do. And it'll be interesting to see if, as mayor of New York City, if he'll be able to implement that or implement that in some form. Another thing that everyone's going to be interested in is if Andrew Yang wins in 2022. I'm assuming, well, will COVID still be a thing? Will COVID be gone by then? We don't know. But if it's not gone, how will he handle that situation as mayor? We've seen some mistakes between Bill de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo regarding the older population in the nursing homes. How will Andrew Yang address these situations? Does he bash de Blasio? Does he bash Governor Andrew Cuomo? Does he stay in the middle and try to avoid it? Does he support what they've done? These kind of questions could either help or hurt a candidate in these local races. But the fact that it's a big city like New York, it honestly might not matter, considering it's a very big city, and Andrew Yang clearly has the biggest name recognition. Which is why I think Andrew Yang is leading in the polls right now. I often said that primaries, in my opinion, are often a popularity contest of whose name do people know more, especially early on in the primary. For instance, if you look back to the 2016 Republican primary, they started doing polls about a few months after the 2012 presidential election. It was no surprise that their leading candidate was only getting about, say, 10%, 9% in the leading polls. And then they factored in Republican nominee in 2012, Mitt Romney. And Mitt Romney was crushing the competition with 35%. Why was that? Did the Republican Party want to renominate Mitt Romney? Did the Republican voters desperately want Mitt Romney back? No. The reason that is because Mitt Romney was the candidate everyone had heard of. Mitt Romney spent the last 2 years running for president, so everyone knew his name. His name was still fresh in his mind. It's very similar to also 2000 when Al Gore lost the presidency to George Bush. In 2004, the Democrats were thinking what candidate should be run. And the early polls showed which candidate should be run. Al Gore was actually at the top of the list because he was fresh in everyone's mind. Everyone knew who he was. Maybe they thought, well, maybe Al Gore can have a better chance this time around. He knows what happened last time. He knows where he went wrong. He knows what he could fix. A lot of time, Democratic and Republican Party nominations for the president alike, a lot of times they fizzle out after they run. A lot of times. And Andrew Yang looks like he's trying to defy that. He's trying to run for New York city mayor, a very big city. When you think of the United States, what big cities do you think of? I mean, if you're around the world, say you're in like a small country or a small island, you think of two cities. You pretty much think of New York and you think of LA. So LA is a very big city, and Andrew Yang could potentially be the next mayor of New York, which is very, very interesting. Andrew Yang will be in the spotlight a lot as New York City mayor if he does win. And given his frontrunner status, it's looking more and more likely that he will. So this is an interesting thing to look at. Will Andrew Yang become mayor of New York? I think at this very moment, if the election were held today, he would. I think that once Andrew Yang, if he can clear the Democratic primary, that's his biggest competition. I don't think a general election would actually be that hard for Andrew Yang, in my opinion. I think Andrew Yang, the fact that he's a Democrat would pretty much help him win New York alone. But the fact that he has such big name recognition as well kind of makes him almost close to unbeatable in a Democratic city like New York. So I think Andrew Yang's the front runner. I think he's the favorite to become New York City mayor at this time. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you always get notified when I post a new video, and tap the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.